Okay, welcome. I will call the Town of Victor Zoning Board of Appeals order. Today is Monday, June 2nd. All right. Join us for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. A few housekeeping matters. Emergency exits are off to the side. Restrooms are back in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet, the back of the room. There's also proposed resolutions on the back table. Business cards are also available, as well as the email and phone number of the planning department. If you haven't done so already, please either turn off or silence your cell phone so as not to disturb the application process, the hearing. If there's any conversations that do not relate directly to the hearing itself, please take that out into the hallway so again as not to disturb the hearing. As we go along, the applicant certainly can let Susie over there or one of our people let us know which exhibit that you'd like to see. We certainly can flip that up for you. If there are new exhibits, let us know. We will certainly take a look at them. Take your time. We won't talk over you. Please don't talk over us. It's important because we're keeping a record. It's being recorded. Amber then types them up. If we're talking over each other, it's going to be really difficult to who said what, where, and when. On that part, if it's an exhibit that you're referring to, do your best to use compass directions, structures, instead of, if you notice over here, you notice over there, that really doesn't translate well into the minutes. So descriptive language is going to be very important. The process. The applicant will have an opportunity to state their case. Once they're done, the board will probably ask some questions. If there is someone from the public that wants to speak for or against the application, we will ask. Outside of that, as we go along, certainly if you have questions, we'll do our best to answer them. I think that covers it. So next on the agenda, I would entertain a motion for approval of the May 19th, 2025 minutes. Unless there's some discussion, a motion for approval would be appreciated.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Patrick. A second?
Second.
Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thanks so much. Okay. Champion Reserve Townhome. Plural.
Good evening. It's nice
Good
to see you
evening.
all again.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good. All right, so as you may have noticed, we have two new board members, so I would appreciate a little bit of patience.
Sure.
So let's just go over a few things so we can get them up to speed. Champion Reserve Townhomes owns all of the units that are in that development, is that right?
All of the units from Gillis to 72 units in. There's another owner that owns the ones in the middle.
Okay, so how many units are?
72.
Okay, thank you. And what you are asking for is an existing shed to be left where it is, and the code requires that a shed of such would need to be either on the side or in the rear. But due to topography and limited area on the in between the townhomes, your position is that that's really the best place for it. Your company doesn't own any garages to house the equipment that you need. This is mainly for shovels and salt, sidewalk salt, and some other light equipment.
That's exactly correct, sir.
All right. Are there other things that you want to add?
No, I think that about covers it.
Okay.
At our last meeting, you and Mr. Nearpass, I think we had discussed moving it to the side, to the east of Unit 550. It would be alongside Championship Drive, which is a public road, but it would be on the side of a house.
So it's 554.
Was it five, sorry, to the east of Unit 554, in that parking area. We're happy to do that, but beyond that, we don't really have a feasible location for the shed.
Okay. The other part that I had omitted, that I think the board was in agreement at the time, based on your statement that you only need the one shed. And if the board grants this variance, you won't be asking for any more, so the condition would be it's one and only one shed.
That is absolutely correct. It's an operations shed. It's not for the residents. We're not ever going to allow residents to ask for sheds anywhere in their yards.
Okay, great. I think that sums it up, so, Matt, you have some questions?
I do. So do you guys also own the golf course or no?
We own the well, no is the answer to that question. A related entity owns the golf course but has leased it in its entirety to a tenant who manages and operates it. We don't have a right to use the golf course property to store our stuff.
And then this is,
To be clear, we did up until 2 years ago. It was a long walk for our maintenance crews, but we could have, but now we've leased it, so that's just the way it is.
and then, so it looks like just, because I don't know the construction timeframe, it looks like the aerial shows it under construction, so this is fairly?
It's a new project, but it's been completed for three years at least.
There was no thought then when designing it to put in like a maintenance shed or anything to?
There was. Decades ago, the DeMarzos purchased this whole Boughton Farm and put a legacy senior living facility, a country club, a golf course, and had approval for, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but well over 100 townhouse units. They built a legacy, they built a country club, they put the golf course in, and they started building the townhouse units. Legacies were sold in bulk in 2017, and the purchaser of the legacies wanted the townhouse units that had already been completed. There were 72 that hadn't been built. We built those under the original approval. So correct, there wasn't a place for a maintenance facility at that time, so
That was all probably part of then the golf course portion.
yeah. Yeah, there's maintenance facilities there.
For the location, is there anything that would prohibit putting it inside, so like where grass? Oh, sorry, I apologize. I'm new to this side, sorry. Oh yeah, you can hear me now, better. Inside, so where there's green space, there's like two sets of parking spaces on the outside, and then on the curb, there's green space. That might give you an opportunity to put it inside and then get some landscaping around it to screen it as well.
I don't know what you mean, sorry.
Is this, so if you put it, basically did a pad for it in this area here on the green space, and then that would give you an opportunity to screen around the back. You have it as far from the main drive, so then people driving through, you're not in the view corridor towards any of the townhomes, and it's pushed back and screened kind of as far away from the main road.
So I asked one of the owners who's got a design eye, he said that would bring it further to attention, and he really didn't want to do that. It would make he wants this to look really nice. These are high-end townhouses.
I
Just, if
agree.
I just stop you for a moment, you were pointing to unit
542,
542 or 544.
yeah.
Okay, go
Which
ahead.
has the green space across the
Yep.
way.
Okay, got it.
It would just make, it would bring it into center and make it, and it would be more obtrusive, not less.
It's
is
hard
what-
to tell from the aerial map, but the grade from the top part of that eyebrow road, it descends down. So
Yep.
he's in basically one of the flattest areas, whereas it's on slope as you go up that grassy area.
Yep, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, just still, when you drive by, like, the shed is like right front and center, and then I was out there on Saturday, you guys got empty pallets now, like, stacked up against the side as well, so like,
We shouldn't.
yeah.
We'll-
So
we'll
just
look
trying
into
to
that.
see if there's a better way to kind of get it back and hide it more as opposed to having it right up along the main.
I don't think
I
so.
understand.
Several meetings ago, the board sent Adam out to go see if there was a location, a more suitable location, and he reported back that with the exception of the east of 554 and one or two other spots that I don't think were as desirable, there really wasn't a flat spot you could put this in. Is that, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, every location would still require the variance, and then, to Matt's suggestion there, it is in the corner parking spot. Could screening possibly be added to the grass area to the east and to the north of where the shed is currently located?
Yeah, I think we could do that.
That's all I.
Larry, questions?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Leah?
No, no questions.
Patrick?
I guess the only comment is, just for good measure, is on an aerial here, there's a pond. I assume that's part of the golf course property, that, there's like a pump house.
Yes.
Is that a
that's part
pump
of it.
house and that's not used for storage or
No, that's used for a pump.
drainage? Yeah.
Actually, it was cool when they designed it, and 20 years ago, this was, I don't know if it was cutting edge, but it was cool. The golf course is irrigated from that pond. The water used to irrigate the golf course is from the, is pumped out of the pond. So it's real, I mean, it was green technology at the time.
Okay. Other than that, no.
All right, great. Just back up a quick second so I understood. You are open to the idea of landscape buffering?
Sure.
Okay. And you're okay with having that as a condition?
Yes.
What kind of ideas would you have for vegetation?
I'm a lawyer. I'm probably not the
Sorry.
best. My first guess is arborvitae's. That might actually, sort of block it in, but I would want the owners, I mean, if we're gonna put landscaping in, they're gonna put something in that matches existing facades and landscaping. We have people at our company who do
Okay.
that.
So we're not going to over-engineer it. We'll leave that up to you to give some landscape buffering there.
Well, it would
Right.
still have to go to the planning board? Did you?
I didn't hear anything about planning board.
I thought it was on Adam's letter. No, oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. Nope, all right, never mind. Nope.
Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? Anyone online? Nope, we're good? Okay. All right, let's walk through the criteria. First, an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the granting of the area variance. Justification being, the owner owns all 72 units. There are topography issues that make it difficult to locate the shed either on the side or in the rear of any of the townhome units. Outside of the unit where it, the place where it currently is, the other possibility is, would be east of unit 554, but that's still forward of the unit. So either way, you still need a variance. It was clarified the owner, while they used to, they no longer have a right or any rights to use golf course storage facilities. I think that might do it. Does anyone want to add or comment on any of the justifications for the first criteria?
I do think an undesirable change would occur. I don't actually think it's possible for them to play, like, as he said, it's a high-end townhome area. I don't actually think it's possible for them to place a shed anywhere where it wouldn't cause a negative impact to the character just because it wasn't designed in to the overall design.
I'm not following.
So I think, I think it creates a negative, it's a negative impact on the character by having a shed sitting in the front yards of the townhomes.
Okay, well, we need to draft the motion, so you can certainly vote how you would like.
Yup. But that's only number one.
Right.
Yup.
So as we're going through, and I'm trying to get a feel of the board, so let's do a quick straw poll. Leah, are you feeling, is how I described it for the justifications, is that in line with your thinking, or do you want to change? And,
It's in line. I'm not crazy about the location, but I understand that there's no better location for it.
so right now, I am looking for the justification for the first criteria. If the majority of the board doesn't agree with that, then I have to turn it on the other way and draft it in a way so we can get a motion either for approval or denial.
I'm not going to disagree with what you said.
Okay, Larry, are you okay with the justifications, or want to add or comment on something different?
No, I'll agree.
You're okay with it right now. Patrick?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Keeping in mind, we're going to landscape it and make it look nice.
All right. Second, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. As stated earlier in the first criteria, that topography issues, the owner owns all 72 townhouse units. There is only one other place that is possible for that shed to be placed, which would be, I always said it, now I can-
East of Unit 554.
thank you, 554. And let's also put in there that the owner has currently no rights to use the golf course storage facility. Would anyone like to add or comment on the second criteria? Third, the area variance is substantial. There is for some reason, 54 feet stands out. So it's 57 feet forward of the unit, and arguably that is a substantial request. Would anyone like to add or comment on the third criteria? Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. Currently, the shed sits and is located on, is it asphalt?
Yes.
All right, so it sits on asphalt, so I'm not seeing any reason to think that they would have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions. Would anyone like to add or comment on the fourth criteria? Fifth, the alleged difficulty is self-created, simply by the fact that it existed before the variance application was submitted. The owner has agreed to a condition that this is the one and only shed that they will be asking for. No other variances would be granted in the future on sheds forward of the townhomes. And the owner has also indicated that they're acceptable to landscape, vegetation, and buffering. All right, with that,
I think there was one more, I think, and I'm reading this from here, but if the shed needs to be relocated, they have to get another variance. They
Relocate.
can't relocate it from where,
right, so it is, the current location is it. That's true with anything, that's an understanding that you move the shed, you would need another variance. That
Understood.
location is what's being considered.
Yes, sir. And it's, I mean, it's really just a variance for lot 552, even though it's used by the whole shebang.
Okay,
Understood.
anything else? All right, then I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve?
All right, Patrick, thank you.
before we do this.
Go ahead.
if I might, We're not approving what's here, right? Not the January 21st. It has,
No, that's just a draft. There's,
okay. I just wanted to make sure I was in the right
Right.
place.
right, good question.
Good question. I just realized, motion made by Matt Nearpass and
Yeah.
headed by Fred Salzberg.
Second.
Who did, who, you did, Larry? Okay, thank you, Larry. All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
I
so
really
much.
appreciate your digging into this and working with us. We really appreciate it. Thank
Very
you.
welcome.
Have a good evening.
Good luck to you, you too. Next is Alan Hers, I'm not. gonna say-
Hergesell.
Sorry?
Hergesell or Hergesell.
Thank you. You'd like a fence. And what we're looking at is a area variance for a fence forward of the front line of the home.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I'm the applicant, I'm the co-owner of the property, 118 Fisher Road, and my other co-owner, my spouse. She's the Ellen, I'm the Hergesell. And Tom Thomas over there happens to be our construction person for the fence, in case there are any questions. So, up on the screen, we already have a sample that Tom gave us a photograph of. This is what the fence would look like, no top or bottom rail. The issue is where the fence would start. And you can see from this diagram. I'm going to kind of delve into this a little bit. This is our house.
You just have to
down
talk
here.
in the microphone, Carl, I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
North is toward the top of the screen, and can't find my dot. There we are. This is our house here, and there's perhaps 50 feet between the front of our house and the roadside. The fence, if it stopped 50 feet from the road up there, would end up in the middle of what appears to be a lawn, rather than a logical ending close to the roadside. If you move to the next screen, you can see from our property, and this is by the north boundary of our lot, where we just saw the green line on the map. It is currently marked by that white rope and a few signs on it. And it shows how the fence would be going through what appears to be a lawn, a normal lawn. But what happened was the owner of 92 Fisher invaded our property and turned this into a landscape we didn't expect. And we're trying to cure the boundary invasion by putting this fence in. Before I go on, questions?
Anyone have any questions so far?
Well, I just have one question.
Sure.
This looked like it's a lake or a pond, it's a pond.
No, that pond is on the other side of Fisher Road.
Oh,
And there's actually a hill, a drop-off there, and Fisher Road is not visible.
It's, okay.
You're looking due east.
I'll stick to close this, sorry. That photograph was taken right about here.
Facing due east.
Okay.
And it was facing east, and across,
The pond is over there where,
yeah, the
okay,
pond is
got it.
here,
Okay,
Crosman Pond, as
Okay.
it's been called.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I just like, you're trying to put a fence up to delineate between yours and your neighbor's property.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Because he encroached on an
Oh,
eight.
wait,
no, I
wait,
got
wait,
that
wait,
part.
wait,
Got
time out, time out.
Sorry.
If you're going to say something, you got to come up to the microphone because then Amber can't hear you.
Yeah. Our neighbor encroached on an eighth of an acre of our land and cut down 25 of our trees. It was a forest with 75 to 125-year-old trees, and unbeknownst to us, because we cannot see his house from our house, and he can't see our house from his house, we found this out when, in fact, we went down and looked and noticed that there were 15 trees gone from one place, 10 from another, and there was no permit for him to do any of this.
I think I understand the question that's kind of been right in the forefront. Did you call the police?
Pardon?
Did you call the police?
We called the town of Victor, and the neighbor had also dug up an outlet stream, what was part of Arundequoit Creek.
Let me try again.
So planning board was already there, right?
Let me try again. The Ontario County Sheriff's Office or the state police, did you call either one of those two?
I don't think we did. I think we called Lou Moran, our real estate attorney, to find out how we should handle this.
Okay, so just for clarification, police were not called, there's no police report, right? Is that correct?
But the planning board came out and documented.
It's really just a simple yes or no question.
No, I don't think there is a police report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was any civil liability claim filed against the owners that for cutting your trees, for trespassing, anything like that?
Yes, we actually suggested through Lou Moran's office a reconciliation, and he has been unwilling to do anything. The latest that he told us was through his landscaper, whom he blamed for this to begin with, who said they would be removing the 8.5 feet of a huge hewn stone landscape installation that's 8.5 feet on our property, that the neighbor had authorized his landscapers to get rid of it so we can have a continuous fence.
So I'm unclear. There is a liability claim against the homeowner that cut down the trees that you're talking about.
Yes, and built the landscaped fence that we just talked about, which you can see on the photograph.
There's some kind of negotiations going on for.
No, there's no negotiations. He had, he's been completely non-responsive. He had a motorcycle accident last summer and has required 9 surgeries to be able to hopefully save his leg. So he's been rather distracted. But even from the beginning of this, before he had the motorcycle accident, we waited in predeference to his health to present a reconciliation, but we've heard nothing from him.
So I gather, just for clarity, this is over a property line dispute, and your solution is,
It's not a dispute. There's no dispute about where our property line is. We had a survey, the planning board came out and saw it. They recognized that he was an eighth of an acre over onto our land.
I understand that you're telling us that your neighbor invaded your property, trespassed on your property, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And you want to put a fence on your property line to tell the world and your neighbor, this is where our property line is.
We need a clean deed. As you can tell, we're not spring chickens. We need a clean deed for our land, and that's what we want. And our neighbor does know we're planning on installing a fence.
All right, so I'll try again.
Sorry?
I will try to ask the question
Okay.
differently, except I'm not quite. By putting the fence on your property line, you are telling your neighbor and the world, this is where our property line is, for the world to know. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, there we go.
Because his landscapers have continued to cut grass on our land, and we needed to put something, hence the white rope with the, please don't do this because.
I'm sorry, you're getting too far from the microphone.
No, he was continuing to use it as his land and cut his grass and make it look like his part of the lawn.
Understood.
So we called up Adam, he said we could run a rope.
Okay, I think we're on the same page with
Thank
what
you.
the
Sorry.
prime issue is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
Well, I was asking questions. Any more questions from the board at the moment?
Any more questions for now?
The fence is going to be 4 feet high or
The
6 feet high? What's the,
You got a
4 feet high is the height of the fence.
4-foot chain link fence.
That's correct,
Okay, got it.
according to the picture that you see on the screen.
Other questions for now?
Will the fence go all the way back
No.
towards the brick, the rock?
It will go through that area.
No, hold on, we can't, I'm sorry to stop you like that. You got to come up to the microphone and speak. There we go.
Could you ask your question again, please?
I don't,
My question.
that was go ahead.
Will the fence go through the area where he's placed the rocks and everything?
Yes, with the modification that his landscaper has informally agreed to take out the stonework that showed on the other photograph, and therefore the fence would be continuous, so it would not have a break in it. So if you look at the leftmost picture there, you can see that there's small stones, and it's a little hard to see on that picture, but there are very large blocks, probably 600-pound blocks of stone that are part of that fence. And again, the landscaper has agreed, not in writing, informally, to remove that stone wall.
and one other question for a chain link fence, is 4 foot the typical height you would get for a chain link fence? Does it come in 2 foot high, or is 4 foot the smallest you can get in height?
4 foot standard height wise, the standard height wise, you could special order a 3 foot, but there's nothing lower, available that I'm aware of than that.
Okay.
And then it does range, all the way up to 10 to 12 foot.
But it generally starts at 4 foot?
Generally starts at 4 foot, especially for a residential aspect.
Okay.
I think we're good for now.
Okay, let me give you some more information. Then I'm looking on page 7 of my handout. And we're just noting here that that property, 92 Fisher, had been subdivided many decades ago out of the 118 Fisher Road property, so there's no question about where the boundary is. If we jump forward to the page that says visibility of fence, I believe that's,
They have your original
Number
packet.
14.
I think you're working off a different packet, sir.
that one. Okay, the numbers might be different. All right, this is information specifically addressing the zoning issue for setback. This first photograph is taken outside of our house facing east. The distant forest is at the other side of that pond that you saw a picture of or earlier.
Could you say that again?
Okay, I'm sorry. This is facing toward the Crosman Pond that we saw or didn't quite see in the other photographs. So the house at 92 Fishers is not visible from this area in front of our house. It's over 500 feet around the corner, and if you would flip to the next, this is a photograph from the other direction, from the corner of Fishers Road with Benson Road, looking south on Fisher Road. And it indicates where the 92 Fisher house is. We believe it would make more sense to have the fence start 15 feet from the edge of the road, up the hill, where
I think
it
there's a
starts
laser
to
there.
level out.
Sorry to cut you out. The laser, could you just point
Sure.
to, I think you can see basically where the stake is, and that line starts in the picture.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the line that you see in the other diagrams. One of these stakes right here might be the survey stake for corner of the property.
So the fence would start at the top where that, I guess it looks like a bush to me, right there.
It would be right around there.
Okay.
And the 15 feet is the criteria that the town has for not having builds that don't belong to the town close to a road. So we would not want to run the fence for any reason down the slope to the roadside itself. Any questions about the visibility of the two houses to each other?
Not yet. You're done with your presentation, and then we'll ask questions, or you got some more?
The final material I have is on a preceding, is after this page, sorry. And it's addressing your justifications. If you switch to the page that says part of the application,
So again, they have your original documentation, so they do have all that. It's just in this packet form.
okay, all right. The material in the slides is the same as the material in your handout. There should be a separate document in your package for the 5 questions and the answers.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
All set for questions?
Has everybody found the page?
Yes.
Okay. So you were asking the other gentleman, do you wish to go through those individually?
Yes.
Number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Will an undesirable change be caused? Well, our proposed fence is, I'm quoting from my text here, is a simple chain link. It is needed to cure a detriment to our property, to remedy the undesirable changes made by the neighbor who invaded our landscaping. Our understanding from the town so far is that the fence is the reasonable and best next step to cure the invasion.
Let me ask you a question about
Sure.
that. Where are you getting that information from? That the town said, our understanding from the town is that the fence is reasonable.
We have talked, I believe, to Adam about that, and,
Your statement's inferred. I said you have the option to have a fence, but if you
Okay.
wanted it there.
All right.
Whether or not it wasn't suggested or, considered, I mean, it is reasonable, but.
Okay, understood.
Moving on to the second one.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. The fence would not start, if it does not start at the top of the road cut, it will just look really strange. The fence would start in the middle of what appears to be the lawn instead of the edge by the road. My understanding about that is the setback of our house from Fisher's Road would have to be used for the fence if there were not an area variance, and the fence would start somewhere around the red dot, based on the setback of our house,
How far would that be?
about 50 feet. So the fence would start somewhere in there.
So you would lose 35 feet of fence from what you're proposing.
Roughly speaking. Questions about that?
Not yet, keep going.
Item 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial. It is not. The fence will be installed on our property with or without the variance, but it will look worse, not better, if it starts in the middle of the lawn instead of at the top of the road cut and 15 feet from the Fisher Road pavement.
What is the entire length of the fence?
The entire length will be approximately 224 feet plus 50, so 274 feet. Make that 260, subtracting the,
We have 31
15
acres
feet.
of land on that side of Fisher
No, it's
Road.
just a question about the fence. I'm just trying to understand substantial. 15 of almost 300 feet is not a substantial number to me. That's all I was trying to get to. Thank you.
all right. Fourth question then, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact, and we're saying none.
Are there any other fences along, I'm over here. Are there any other fences along that road?
Nowhere near that section that I can think of. We're quite a ways from the next house.
We have 1,100 feet of road frontage.
If you go north on Fisher's Road by that pond, there is a wooden fence that does separate, but it's behind. There is a wooden fence that does separate. Adam, does that?
But not a chain link.
Not a chain link. It's wooden.
Doesn't exist in the town of Victor.
Okay, it's a different town.
92 Fisher is right at the boundary with Monroe County.
Thank you.
The fifth question, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, we're saying that the difficulty was created by the neighbor with no consultation or notification to us or to the town for that matter.
What happens if you don't put the fence up?
We will not have a clean deed, and I'm considering putting our land in a conservation easement. We will not be able to trust that our land is secure. I mean, look what's happened. They took 1/8 of an acre of our land, where they cut down 25 of our trees with no permission. I don't trust our neighbor, very honestly, and he has a very bad reputation in Rochester for business. So I don't, this was startling for me. It was very hurtful. I've been there for almost 50 years, and it's been in the family since the late 1920s. And to have someone fundamentally just do what they will with your land is pretty scary. And You know, the very fact that he's willing to remove the stone installation so this fence can be continuous. This has been a multi-layered difficulty that he's created for us.
I understand that it's
And
been,
we've spent a lot of money on this, and honestly, we will be spending more money, and we've gotten no money from him. He's not a fair player, honestly. And I don't trust that unless we put a fence in, that he will continue. He's been cutting the lawn on our property, even though there's an erosion issue that we want to get after by planting some of our own stuff, like low-growing sumac.
I understand it's been very difficult, but let me ask a question at this point. You talk about a good deed, but you haven't reported them to the authorities. You haven't sued them in court.
I don't want to spend, I understand from Lou Moore and our attorney, that if I did decide to sue him, I would be years in court. I'm 77 years old. That is not how I want to spend the rest of my life in court disputing something that I know should never have happened. So honestly, a 4-foot fence that is non-intrusive, you know, we'll do some landscaping on our land. We asked him to, because we studied all of the case law on this and talked to lots of different consulting arborists and stuff. He's refused to replant the trees that we originally had talked about with the planning board. You know, he won't take responsibility for what he's done. And when I have someone who is that lack of accountability, I feel like I have to put up a fence, and the rest of our property is not fenced.
I have a quick question for Adam. Just to clarify, they could run a 2-foot fence where they would like to run it to. So we're really only looking at from 2 foot high to 4 foot high for that one section.
Yeah, so the code does not require a permit for like a garden type, like a landscape fence, but it limits the linear length to 40 feet.
Yeah.
So if the 2-foot fence is longer than 40 feet, it would need a permit and still require a variance.
But from 15 to 50 feet. So for 35 feet in length, they would be permitted to run a 2-foot fence
Without a variance.
without a variance. And then from that 50-foot back, they'd be able to run a 4-foot fence. So it's not the location specifically then, it's just allowing the fence really from the 2-foot to the 4-foot high.
Correct.
Okay.
Because the fence, the 40 feet or 35 feet of 2-foot fence in this case wouldn't require a permit, therefore wouldn't require a variance.
Okay.
Is there a suggestion that you're making out of that?
No, that goes back to the being a substantial variance as well, and just making sure I understand what you would be allowed to do by code versus what you're just asking. That was, I just wanted to clarify my understanding with Adam for that.
And I just checked with our contractor, and it would mean that we would have to install 2 fences, which would be more important to, more expensive for us.
No, I understand.
And for a problem we never created.
I understand. I was just trying to understand that in regards to being substantial or not.
I'd like to explore a little more on this notion of a clean deed, as you call it. What is a clean deed by your definition? I understand what a deed is, but a clean deed is what?
My understanding from Lou Moran is that a clean deed is one where there's complete clarity and agreement about the properties and the survey, and that it is required if, for example, we did go for a conservation easement to keep some of Victor wild and green, and they would want some
Conservation
cleanness.
easement right now has nothing to do with what a clean deed is.
But a conservation easement, according to Genesee Valley Land Trust, would require a clean deed, and right now, we don't have a clean deed.
Because,
Because the land looks like it's all his lawn. I mean, yes, we ran the white rope over it, but the reality is the white rope is not a permanent solution.
all your documents, I don't see an instrument survey. That is the legal document of who owns the property, where the
Okay,
boundary line.
This land was granted in 1930s from Dr. Kaiser and his wife to their attorney. So we have We have, the survey maps have already been presented to the planning board. We have presented them to the neighbor. He has agreed with that. The reason he is asking his landscaper to remove the rock installation is because he agrees that he broached the property line.
From time to time, whether how old the property is, whether it's 5 years new, okay, so
2020, this is a 2024 survey of the entire property.
all right, so there are lines that delineate, especially the line that you're referring to, that is the legal document that shows where that boundary line is. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Of course,
Okay, so if you were to present that in a court of law, said, this is our, hear me out a little bit. Present that document to a judge, and the judge says, okay, I see where the line is, and I see that this individual has been trespassing on your property. You still have your clean instrument survey. That is the legal document, when I call it, the world to know that that is your property line.
except for obviously this neighbor who chose not to record
Doesn't-
it.
All due respect, it doesn't matter if he's mowing, cutting, whatever it is, that document supersedes his
Yeah.
illegal, arguably, his illegal conduct of coming onto your property. So.
We
you
agree
have-
with that. But I want a fence to physically mark it, because up until we ran the line, he was still continuing to treat our property as his.
Do you think a 4-foot fence is going to stop him? Everything
Yes.
you've described.
Oh, yes, I do.
Why is
I
that?
do.
Number one, the landscaper has already agreed to that. Number two, they're already following for this growing season a cutting pattern where he does not come onto our land. The grass is growing longer on the south side of that white road, and it's cut on the north side.
Who's landscaper?
92 Fishers, landscaper.
So that
Elijah Wilton's landscaper.
their landscaper is not coming onto your property currently?
That's correct.
Okay.
But that's partly because we marked it with a temporary rope.
Okay.
The agreement that Lou Moran asked us to strike about a year ago with Elijah was that he would not come on our property and we would not come on his property.
Nothing about the trees or the previous damage he's caused?
This is the simplified residue of a fairly complicated process. We came up with an agreement after the consultation with a number of experts that priced out the cost of the trees that were removed, that dealt with the fact that he landscaped the surface, so the topography was changed. He put lights up on our property, lighting the trees. He put in that landscaping of really heavy blocks of stone. And I lost track of where that sentence was going.
Okay, we're old. Yeah, I mean, I would like a physical boundary established between us and him.
I understand what you want. It's getting the
Well, all
justification.
along, this has been a comedy of errors. So, you know, I mean, the planning didn't know that this house was in Victor. They thought it was in Pittsford. And so he never had a permit. I mean, it's just been, and somehow we have ended up paying $15,000 out of pocket. We have another $5,000 for the fence if we get the permission. I'm not in favor of a 2-foot fence because I don't want to incur any more expense than I already have. We proposed to him with Lou Moran, and they didn't talk to us at all for months. And then we finally got well, he's had a lot of surgeries, you know, he can't deal with this right now, so we held off for a while. But nonetheless, this guy is not trustworthy. Sorry, he's not.
What we had asked for was a replacement of the 25 trees, as well as, we would have been happy if he even bought the 1/8 of an acre that he
Yeah.
invaded and attached it to his property. But he's not willing to negotiate any of that, and certainly not spend any of his money to
And
help
after
with the
consulting
process.
arborists, the New York State law that says if someone takes down your tree, it's triple the value. We talked to several consulting and registered arborists, and what they said was that, and they are expert witnesses in situations like this in New York State, they said that the case law is increasingly just turned to restoration. That's what juries are willing to do, restoration. So we gave him a restoration proposal. You plant 25 trees in 2 different places on our land, you take that, and he is not willing to do any of that. So we have followed a legal process. We've tried to be considerate, but nonetheless, we have followed the process we thought to be how we handled this. And he's non-responsive.
We presented that agreement around last October.
All right, so as far as the legal process you're speaking of, you hired an attorney, is that right?
Yep.
All right. But you
Because the
have
town
not-
decided this was a civil matter. Sorry.
But you have not filed a legal lawsuit against him, is that right?
If I do that, according to Mr. Moran, I will be involved in years of litigation and trial that may go on for a long time, and I'm not willing to spend any more of my lifetime left doing that.
All due respect, that may or may not be true. I have enough experience in that there are times that if the plaintiff has every
Okay.
avenue, every fact locked and loaded, that those claims are resolved sooner rather than later. So years and years and years of litigation
Okay.
isn't always true.
Mr. Reinhardt, you are asking us to do more, and very honestly, I feel like we have done so much. We are not in a tract, so the idea of having the fence start, our distance from our road is not applicable. This is a situation where we have, quite frankly, gotten shafted, and we're asking that you consider a zoning variance so that this can be done. This has been going on for
understand.
3 years.
I understand. We're not asking you to do more. Our questions are to get the facts straight. That's all. That's what we're trying to do, so that when we take a look at the criteria and put in the justifications, we have facts, not speculation, not hearsay. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm asking you to do more. Just looking for some facts here. All right? Leah, questions?
Yes. Instead of putting this fence at the property line there, have you thought about putting some bushes, some type of hedges? Because if you did that, you wouldn't need the variance.
We have a proposal from Lori Bricolo to replant the trees, and we also have a tree doctor on our land, Dan Marion, and quite frankly, it's $30,000. And originally it was 55. I can't be out there at 77, and certainly he can't at almost 80, planting trees by ourselves. This is where I'm going to slowly try to make sure that the erosion is in check, because grass is not the best thing for erosion. And I'm going to try to plant some bushes to fill out our property again. But I'm not willing to go a landscaping route when I can get a fence installed for, $4,500.
So even you, in response to my question, you mentioned trees, planting trees, and that would cost considerable. But did you think of some of these smaller type of hedges, just to
Sure, I
put
thought about
along there?
natural hedges and everything like that, and they end up being more
More
expensive.
expensive, okay,
Yeah, they're a lot more expensive. I looked at a living wall, the whole 9 yards.
yeah.
That would be my preference, but and we do not, very honestly, we do not see this property at all from our house.
Yeah, no, I can
So-
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did you think also about putting, and I know that lately costs some money too, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but to put some big boulders at the property line, going.
That is
some-
much more expensive.
That is more expensive.
Much
yeah,
more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, and also we have almost 275, something? We have 265 feet to cover. And, bringing in someone with big boulders is not very feasible. I would like all those aesthetic things, but very honestly, I don't see this land. He does.
And what is, saw, it looks like there's a slope between his property and where your property starts. Do you know approximately how much that slope is? I think I saw it here on one of the attachments that you gave, Exhibit B2.
Oh,
I'll give you the facts.
So,
in one of our documents is a map that includes topographic lines
oh, it's
on it.
topography.
It looks like
yes.
this.
Yeah. So what is the slope like 6 or 8 feet? More, that it slopes up 6 or 8 feet?
So our land, which is at the bottom of that map that is now on the screen, is higher than his house and this area here. So this slope where the fence would be was grassed by him, and grass was put here where the trees were removed. And over here, this whole area was landscaped by earth movers down to bare earth. The pond was created there and so on. Zoning might have heard about this issue with 92 Fishers. This land now is where we would need to stabilize with some plantings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
I'm a big gardener, and it will take me a while to put that back so that I feel like the erosion issues are taken care of.
Mary, other questions?
Actually, I do. Who are we concerned about will see the 35 feet and think it looks strange? You can't see the fence, right? So having it end at the 50 feet shouldn't bother you because you can't see it. Is that correct?
You could look at it that way, yes.
So
yeah.
Aesthetically, I understand that finishing in the middle and 35 feet and it starts in the middle of the thing, but who will see it? Someone coming up the road?
I'm less worried about who will see it and having a very clear demarcation between our properties.
So the extra.
We're not the only people whom this gentleman has screwed.
But the 35 feet that we're talking about from the 15 to the 50 is not the part of the land that that you said he was encroaching on, is that correct?
No, he's encroached on the whole length of that area.
But it looks like when you look at the picture, that's all woods, isn't it?
No.
No?
No,
The area that they're proposing the fence is
This
the
area where the
disturbed
red
area.
dot is was cleared
All
by
of it,
him, and it is grassed in. Notice the words limits of Boulder landscape. This curve right here is the landscaping that he put over the boundary. This area right here had, well, all along here, there were tree removals on our property.
And the slope that he took down to bare earth, which is very curved, has affected the erosion on our part of that, which is minimal, but nonetheless, we have the rest of that hill that we go up to.
And I'm gathering from your earlier statements that you did consider other kinds of fencing.
I did. I'm not a fan of fences, but the reality is, this is a situation where I feel like one is warranted.
Well, I understand that, but do you consider
Oh,
other
yeah.
kinds of fences?
Oh, yeah.
And they're all more expensive
And
than
we
the
also
chain link?
considered, yep, they are, and we also considered, different options that we were willing to give him, including buy the land for $300. You got 1/8 of an acre of land, we'll be done with it, but no. We've tried 3 different things to try to come to some level of resolution with him. And I think, quite frankly, he's probably just so preoccupied right now with, not losing his leg as a cyclist, a motorcycle
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Other questions?
Not for me.
I'm sorry, I do have a couple. If it weren't for this landscaping, would you have wanted to put a fence up?
I think the answer to that is if it were not for this incursion with no permission, he asked me once if he could take out 2 dead trees, and I said to him, yes, you're welcome to do that. He has lights all around his house, and as Carl said, they project on our trees, and the people across the road around Crossman Pond don't have any more dark nights anymore. So, no, if there had been no incursion, if he had not stolen our property, if he had been a more reasonable human being, if it wasn't all about him and what he wants, no, I don't think fences make good neighbors. But the reality is, we don't have a good neighbor, and you all need to hear that. We don't. He dug up Arundequoit Creek waterway. He dug up an entire hill that is very steep, and fortunately, planning got involved with DEC. But this is where we are.
92 Fisher has had previous owners, and we never had a problem like this with those owners, and never considered doing anything with that boundary would be necessary for any reason at all.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate the answer. I think one thing that I'm just sitting here, I can appreciate, your desire to have that boundary. I think of our scope here as a zoning board of appeals, right? And just trying to think of it is a zoning variance, the avenue for litigation in something that didn't get created by the zone, it's by the zoning code. So that's all. I'm just trying to make sure I'm thinking about what is our role here, and are we really meant to litigate boundary lines? So that's where my question was coming from. Is it's motivated to draw a line, and so I guess I'm sitting here just reflecting, like, is the zoning code creating this hardship? And the answer, it sounds like, is the landscaping done is creating the hardship.
Yes.
Is that fair? Yeah, and it's okay. I understand that's okay. I just wanted to work through that. Thank you.
So let's walk through just a little bit here. You need a variance. You're looking for another 35 feet of fence to get to 15 feet of the paved road. So far, so good? All right, so the compass direction that the fence is going to go, you know what that is? East, west, north, south?
East-west.
All right,
North is at
east-west.
the top of this map.
So going towards the road is east?
Yes,
Okay.
to the right, that's east.
So
Yep.
if where my laser is, if that is the imaginary spot of where you would be permitted to put the fence. So you're looking for another 35 feet. What I'd like to know is, all of that damage, invasion, everything that you want to call it that your neighbor caused, is it east or west of that laser line? Did it occur further west onto your property, or was it between the 35 feet of where you're permitted to go and then to the 15 feet where you're asking to go?
If you refer back to this map,
Got it?
the shaded gray area on that is the easiest section to describe. And you'll note that there's a boundary line going right through the middle of that. And so that hill was, this entire hill here was landscaped. And there needed to be remediation according to the agreement with the town planning, if I've got that right, Adam, that this land which was bare and steep had to be treated in a way that would not get pollution into a DEC-controlled stream at the other side of his property. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think what they're asking is what the area that is spent, where the encroachment took place. So from my recollection, this dashed box area and even further to the east,
Yeah,
if
this
you were to go
section here.
south of the property line, there's a large area of trees that was taken out, correct?
Correct, that was limit of clearing, as it says here.
Right, and so then it comes down, and so the area they're proposing a fence is essentially all been disturbed by the neighbors.
That is correct, yeah.
Question, so from here, so the limit comes up back there. Has it been disturbed, though, continuing from this point forward? Because it shows it, I'm just curious, has there been more clearing than after this was surveyed, then coming closer to the road? Or does it stop there? Because that shows the property line basically meeting the limit of clearing there. I'm just curious.
I think that section may have been changed also, I'm not sure about that.
That area there that shows the limit of disturbance is grass.
That's not, okay, so it has been taken all the way up
This-
then to the road, okay.
This is a grassy lawn, and so is this. So the photographs, the 3 photographs that show the rope boundary, the white rope boundary, show you what that area looks like.
All right. I'll ask a question.
So if you look at this photo, for example, everything to the right of that rope and yellow sign is our property, which was landscaped to grass by 92 Fishers. Everything on the left is where his house is.
All right, could we go back to the instrument survey?
Sure.
All right, the one that I'm looking for has, it would be Exhibit B1, that one.
Okay.
So the box that has in it 224.98 feet, that right there,
Correct.
is that the same box in B2
Yes, basically.
showing the disturbance? Yes? All right.
Yep.
So if I got this right, I'm sorry, the road is to the east?
Yep.
All right.
Fisher's Road runs
So
vertically there.
the western portion of that box and then to the pavement is how far? 35, 40 feet?
Thereabouts, yeah.
All right, so what I'm trying to.
The road is about 50 feet.
Okay, what I'm driving at here is putting the fence up as the code permits. I know you've endured a lot. I understand all that. Putting the fence up as the code permits to that area where the box ends, the code allows you to put a fence to there. So to me, it sounds like all the issues that you've endured for years and years and years has happened to the west of that box and going back into your property. Is that right?
I wouldn't make that much of the box. That was relatively the area marked by our surveyors last March to indicate, again, it says approximate area here, previously disturbed.
I would agree, Mark,
This-
or Mike, that box doesn't accurately represent.
It feels like to me, everything that you've endured has occurred from approximately 40 feet from the pavement edge going west onto your property.
I would say that's incorrect.
How so?
It's, if he showed you in the one picture, it is about 15 feet right at the top of that hill is where he chose to bring in grass and landscape. That was all natural wooded area before where the trees were removed from. And it was a natural landscape. It was not grass, or was not graded, anything like that before.
Right, so what you're telling me is all the invasion, the trees, the lawn, everything that he's done to trespass on your property has occurred 15 feet from the paved road going west onto your property.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that, you're a contractor, I'm looking for the owners to say.
I agree with that.
Yes?
Yes.
That helps, thank you. Anyone have any other questions? Mike, can anyone online or against the application? No? I understand everything you said, it's well presented. The hesitation, concern that I have is putting a fence to solve a neighbor issue, a serious neighbor issue of trespassing. When you've said the rope has seemed to help quite a bit, he's not coming on to your property since the rope has been up. And to try and solve a boundary, as you call it, a clean deed by putting up a fence, there's no guarantee that if this board grants a variance that he's going to stop it. You understand that piece of it?
You mean he's going to stop incurring on our land? Is that what you're saying, encroaching on our land?
Right, this board can't guarantee that.
No, of course you can't.
Okay.
Of course you can't. I have no idea what his mindset is right now.
Neither do we.
No, absolutely. But I do think that rather than seeing this as solving a dispute with a neighbor, I would like to see it as clearly establishing where our property ends and his begins.
Okay.
Because if I am going to, in fact, do some things with a property as we age, I want to make sure that there is no dispute. And right now, you know, the white rope's a little flimsy to establish that.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, unless you have other things you want to add, I want to ask the board one by one what they think, what the justifications are, all right, and try and hone in on if we're ready to draft a proposed resolution. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
So if we put a 4-foot fence up to the 50 feet marker from the road, which is our setback for a house, and we used a 2-foot fence further out, or at the east end, excuse me,
Right, gotcha.
this board would not care, basically, because we would be then following,
I think
we would be following the rules.
Right, no, if you were to do that and put a 2-foot fence up, no variance is required. Okay?
That's what I thought you were saying. Thank you.
All right, good. Larry, I'm gonna pick on you first. What do you think? Where are you? And if you could give us some idea on what the justifications are for what you're thinking. We're going to go to somebody else first.
Yeah, let's go to somebody else first.
Go ahead, Matt. What do you think? Where are you?
I'm okay with it. In regards to the criteria, I think, as we've discussed, the fence is allowed to 50 feet, and then a 2-foot fence would be allowed to go where they want it to the 15 feet. I think going from a 2-foot to a 4-foot fence wouldn't be an undesirable change. I think based on how it's located on the top of a hill, it's far away from homes. It's not like there's a driveway that comes out next to it. A lot of it has to do with the visual look, making sure there's nothing obstructing views. I don't think it would cause a detriment. As they've said, they've looked at a lot of other options. From a financial standpoint as well, this is also a much more feasible, more financial way to resolve an issue that as they stated, is not caused by themselves. So overall, I don't have an overall issue.
Okay. Patrick, what do you think?
I understand the desire. I think I am struggling to understand how a problem not created by the code is solved with a variance. It is landscaping in a dispute, and I respect all that. I want to be very clear, I understand. I'm struggling with our scope as a board of what we're designed to do, which is to approve variances to hardships that are created as the code is written. And this hardship was created by a unsavory neighbor. And so I guess I'm sort of also looking forward to hearing how everyone else's perspective is to close that gap for me. Because I think you potentially just offered a solution to bypass the need for a variance in your last statement there, which could prevent us from needing to approve something. So that's just where I'm at right now.
So if you look at all the criteria.
Yep.
And I think what we're hearing is a great deal of passion on the problem and the intent of why you want the fence. But when you look at the criteria and the justification, there really isn't anything in there that specifically gets to why do they want X, Y, Z,
Sure.
right? So looking at it, if you say, well, this is going to create an undesirable change in the neighborhood, can they achieve it by some other way? Is it substantial? Those kinds of things are what we need to plug in there for either granting or denying the variance. So with that in mind, do you still kind of feel the same way, or does it help you guide and to say, I'm leaning more towards this way or that way?
Yeah, I think there could be whether the benefit sought could be achieved by some other method. I do think the benefit of drawing a clear boundary line can be sought by an alternative method than a variance. Whether it be, it doesn't necessarily have to look aesthetically pleasing, but I guess I would say number two, I'm not sure it meets. And then whether it was self-created, I look at that definition maybe differently than how you guys might be interpreting it. It was self-created in that it wasn't created due to the way it's zoned currently. And so I think I just look at those two, and that's kind of where I would come up with my opinion.
Meaning yes or no? You can still, I'm not saying this is
Yeah.
how it's going to be.
No,
I'm just trying to get an idea how I'm going to draft the resolution.
I just don't think for those reasons I'm ready to vote yes.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Larry, what do you think?
I understand the problems you've gone through, and I do respect that. I just sort of struggling also with the thing about, can it be achieved by some other method other than what we're talking about here? And I think you've actually said that you can do that. I don't think it's substantial. I don't think it's going to change the character of the neighborhood. I mean, it's far enough away from everything. I'm not ready to vote yes.
Okay. Yeah, what do you think?
Okay. So I would vote yes. I am no fan of fences at all. However, and like Ms. Allen said, fences don't make good neighbors. I don't like fences between neighbors. However, chain link fences, I think, whether it's on a big or a small property, they look much better because they blend in. Because it's chain link, it's kind of subdued, so you can see the background in it. And being that this fence is, I would say, perpendicular to the road, it's not a fence that's going in front and it's not seen. So these are the reasons I'm giving for the first item. And in this situation, I don't really think you can achieve this benefit another way, because I did ask the questions about landscaping and not putting trees there, but just some kind of hedges or small bushes, and I was told by Ms. Allen that it would cost more, and I'm taking her word on that, because I think she said she spoke with Bartlett Trees, and I'm familiar with them as well, and I know they do a good job. And then also even with bushes, and especially those hedges, many times they're planted, and sometimes they don't take and die. So that's another thing, and that to me would be not aesthetically pleasing. If there's one or two that died, they brown, and then if they're pulled out, it just doesn't look good. So in that way, the fence would be better. And I don't see how it would have an adverse effect. So those are reasons why I'm leaning yes for this.
Okay. I do have a quick question. What's the acreage on, that you own?
We own almost 31 acres.
1 acre.
We abut Powder Mill Park.
I have one other quick question.
And then my late ex-husband has the 7.5 across the street where the Fishers Monroe County Water Pumping Station is.
Okay,
And we
thanks.
have the NIPA.
Will it just be chain link, or are you going to do like the green or the black, how they sometimes cover it, or does it just be the plain chain link?
It's just going to be plain galvanized chain link.
What's the price difference between, I think we're looking at about 35 feet of fence for, if it was a 2-foot?
Yeah, so it actually would be, a substantial price difference because you'd have to order a specific roll of, 2-foot high fence, which only comes in 50-foot sections, or, the 4-foot high would have to be cut in half, would also be significant labor. So I'd say I'd probably raise it by 20 to 25% of the cost.
Number? Can you give me a number?
Yeah, probably close to $1,000.
Okay. So it's $1,000 increase by, if you would, lack of a better way to put it, complying with the code.
Correct.
That helps, thanks.
Number 5, so while it's self-created in regards to asking for the height, the issue they're trying to resolve is not self-created. So I struggle with that one on which one to actually go with, because they didn't create the reason for the fence.
So the way that you look at that, for that piece of the criteria, is simply by asking for a variance is self-creating, but that isn't fatal to the case. So let me walk through it a little bit. For your understanding that the 5 questions that you were asked and the explanation that you were putting in there, the board looks at it and it's weighing. One doesn't really outweigh another necessarily. So in one case, it could be, is it going to have a negative impact, or is it going to affect the character of the neighborhood? The board might think that that's paramount. We're very concerned about that. Let's say a cluster development. That would be a good example, right? Compared to a different area, more rural like yours, it could be a different criteria that they're putting more weight on it. So of those 5 criteria, just by failing or not getting the one isn't fatal. You can have, we were positive on criteria number 1, 2, and 4 and 5, but you didn't do well on 3. So it's a bit of a passing grade, right? There's no set pattern. It just depends on where the property is, where the location is, and maybe hit the example home a little better is if you're asked for the fence for some 35 feet forward of your front of your home was in a cluster development, that'd be a whole different ball of wax as opposed to 31 acres. And so I hope you see that. So that's why we're asking these kinds of questions. And the significance of it is like, it is a substantial. Footage doesn't necessarily mean that if it's 1 foot, it could be substantial in one case, if it's 1 or 2 feet, compared to 50 feet may be determined substantial. It may not be, it just depends on where it is and how all these pieces fit together. I think what you're hearing is every board member is heard you. It's frustrating, it's compelling. We gotta be able to fit these justifications in, and we're in a bit of a torn, I think, as far as how we're gonna figure this whole thing out. And I'm trying to figure out what could we hear differently that may help us either, yes, you get the variance, or no, we just can't do it. And the way I'm looking at it is, and I hear you, $1,000, it's a lot of money. You have been through a lot of alternatives of planting more vegetation, going through the same, I want you to, but yes, litigation's expensive. Litigation can be more than it probably will be more than $1,000. You can spend it on that on one day. But that, what I'm looking at is, can you figure this out in a feasible way for $1,000 and not even get a variance compared to a rope, legal proceedings? That's the problem I'm having right now. Is it gonna change the character of the neighborhood? Probably not. I don't think. I think we all agree, we're on that page, if you have acres and acres. It's that one piece that I'm looking at is where, looking at a substantial, maybe, 35 feet is, that's a distance. Have any ideas on, I'm looking at a solvable problem, but even a 2-foot fence doesn't necessarily mean, he's not gonna drive a lawnmower over it, right? Would you agree with that? Doesn't mean he's not gonna hop over a 2-foot fence, a 4-foot fence, or, I don't know the guy, so who knows?
But we've also had issues with his kids on ATVs in our forest and having to ask them to please because they run over small trees that the whitetail have not already chewed up and killed. So we were told we needed a zoning variance by the planning board in order to be able to get their approval for a fence. And we understood that that ordinance that we're asking for a variance on is for, as you said, cluster neighborhoods where there are houses within each other's site and all of that. That is not the situation here at all.
But that's, I don't.
He's got 7.5 acres of
I don't
land.
think that's the intent of the code.
If I could trust my neighbor, I would say I'm fine with this, but I've already spent over $15,000. He refuses to reimburse any of those costs, and now I'm being told that I have to spend another $1,000 because a variance that applies to tract neighborhoods, which is not relevant to us, is going to stay in place. That's what I'm hearing.
And I don't disagree with you on the $1,000 in regards to the feasibility. I think in looking at this specific scenario and the whole situation, I think maybe the $1,000 isn't feasible, looking at everything they've done in the whole, they've presented to us with other money spent and bringing out arborists, trying to look at trees, and it seems like they've done a substantial amount to try to do stuff feasibly, and while there's another option available, asking them to spend even more money than they've already done to try to correct it, I think can go towards it not being.
I don't think we're asking him to spend $1,000. We're saying that that would be a way that they could get the fence without the variance.
Correct.
And if they don't spend $1,000, I think there is a chance that this board will not approve of it.
The other part on that is hearing everything that I'm hearing, that this is, from their vantage point, a huge intrusion. They have been violated, their property has been violated. Most people, I really believe, would pick up the phone, call 911 and say, he's trespassing on my property again, keep him off, go get an order of protection. There's a number of things that can be done outside of a full-blown lawsuit to get your money back for the loss of trees, and that wasn't done. And that's curious to me, why it wasn't done. It's a phone call. That bother anybody here?
Well, can I make a comment about that? Sometimes you call the police and that can cause more problems.
That was what I was, the way people now,
Yeah.
and I dealt with it with other neighbors where I called police on neighbors, it's actually escalated the situation. It made it worse than after the police have
And
actually.
then you call them again.
And then you.
Yeah, and then they're vindictive, and then there could be a tragedy.
Now we're
You
doing,
know, and
now we're doing ifs and buts. That's, I don't necessarily agree with that.
If I may add,
Yes, please.
we have tried to negotiate with Elijah. We've even walked the property together along with town personnel and so on. And this is a one-sided negotiation. It's the sound of one hand clapping. He has not been responsive in terms of trying to solve this. We sent last, I believe it was October, as I said earlier, we sent him a detailed agreement that we wrote, approved by Lou Moran, to solve the problem. Crickets is what we got back. There was no response by Elijah or his attorney about that document, which we spent a fair amount of time on. And that would have included getting the trees replaced, the bare soil slope taken care of. And there's nothing happening from his side. So we're ending up having to not invade his property, but do what we can along our northern boundary to solve this problem that is between two parties, but only one of them is trying to solve it.
Let me ask you this then, maybe it'll help our board. Only a chain link fence is what you're asking for,
Correct,
4 foot.
correct.
No privacy straps in between, not doing that. No wood fences, nothing. So if a variance is granted, it will be fact-specific to a chain link, open fence, no private, is that what they're called, they have privacy straps-ish? All right, I think you know what we're all on the same page. You know, what do they call it?
It's privacy slats.
Oh, yes.
Slats.
Or screening, one of the two options, but neither of those are what they're looking
All right,
for.
privacy slabs.
And also, there would be no trespassing signs on it. You know, right now on that white rope, we have some signs up. But my understanding is those aren't permitted according to your fencing regulations, and we're fine with that. So all it will be is the fence.
What we would prefer not to hear is you coming back, well, the 4-foot fence doesn't work, so we need a 6-foot fence. It's gonna be 4 foot. And if it invades his property, what I'm getting at, it better be on your property, right on the property. Do not, I'm good, I see the thumbs up. Well, we've had landscapers, contractors before come back to us, go, oops, we're on their property. We don't want to hear any oops, right? No errors. Right? It's a big deal here.
The survey stakes are new.
The capped rebar sets are very obvious and easy to find and easy to follow.
Okay. Any other questions before we try and draft the resolution? Anyone? We're good? We're good? All right, let's try. All right, an undesirable change will not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the granting of an area variance. Property owners own 31 acres. It's a wooded area. They they are requesting the variance, including its justification as assistance in delineating their northern property line. Would anyone like to add anything for the first criteria comments? All right, moving along. Second criteria, the benefits sought by the applicant. Take a minute. All right, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than area variance. The applicants have indicated they tried rope, they tried vegetation, and on that note, replacing the vegetation would be expensive. They have currently retained legal counsel to assist them in their neighbors' invasion and trespassing, and it's costing a significant amount of legal fees. Would anyone like to add anything else to the second criteria?
Well, it can be achieved by some other method. We know that. We know that they could put 2 feet from the 35 to the 50.
Well, it's got to be feasible. It's either can or cannot. I got to pick one and plug in justifications for it. So I'm hearing more from the board is they tried things, even though they haven't tried some other things. Doesn't mean that whether it be calling the police or filing a civil liability claim would solve any of this. It's arguable or debatable, I suppose, is how we put it, what is feasible, what they've tried and what they can do. So if,
Well,
I understand for $1,000.
Yeah, for the purposes of the resolution, obviously it has to be can, or cannot be achieved.
Yes, I'm sorry, you're right. It cannot be, I think I misspoke.
No, you spoke correctly.
You're right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I can check confused.
Anything else in the second criteria?
No, but this is the one where I guess what's the, because I agree with the discussion. But what is the precedent for what feasibility, like how exhaustive does feasibility have to be for a variance? Because I can understand, like this is the one where I can get over the hump on this one. I just need to understand precedent on feasibility.
All right,
Because there's some things that we haven't exercised.
So when you look at variances, precedent is, it's a dicey word. Because like I was discussing earlier, that a request for a variance in one location is different than another. So just because your neighbor got it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. Doesn't mean that it happened in Victor over in the north end, all those things. But as far as the particular, this criteria, it is a subjective view on what is feasible. So what we have here are, and for what it's worth, I've been doing this for quite a while, and this is one of the more challenging cases that I've heard. So when you're looking at, there are things that they've done and things that they haven't done. And they've given some explanation of, well, we didn't file a lawsuit because it's expensive. That's their point of view. You can look at it and say, well, I don't think that's feasible. I think it's feasible that they should have done this. They could still call the police. They could do all these other things. Or you can look at it and say, we've tried all these other avenues. It's expensive to hire an attorney. It's expensive to file a lawsuit, all of those other things. Is that reasonable, feasible for them to keep pushing that button when it gets more and more expensive the more that they try doing it? So it's, you can have your opinion, I can have mine, we all can have different opinions about what that means. Just have something and put some teeth into why it is that you feel that way, right? All All right, good. Well, so moving along. Anything else in the second criteria? All right, third.
Sorry, I'm not trying
Go
to
ahead.
stop you
No,
here.
please do.
How many letters, how many communications have gone unanswered or unresponded to?
Our attorney tried about 6 times to talk to the other attorney. He never called back.
Okay.
And Lou finally met him at some common event, and that is when he shared the information about Mr. Wilb's surgeries.
Okay. I would add the number, I guess I would add to feasibility the number of communications attempted. In good faith.
All right, let's put in there, applicant's attorney has made numerous good faith efforts to negotiate the intrusion, trespassing, and damage to the applicant's property. Does it work?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else on the second criteria? All right, third, the requested area variance is substantial. They're asking for 35 more feet than what the code permits. Would anyone like to comment or add anything on the third criteria?
Well, but it's not substantial in the sense of entire length of the fence.
That's what you're looking at. That's because that's what they're asking for is an additional length forward of their home.
Right, but that 15 feet is a small piece of the 280 feet,
It's 15 feet.
35 feet. The 35 feet as opposed to
It's right,
the whole 300.
It's relative. So when you're looking for a distance, well, all right, Leah, substantial or not? Is 35 feet substantial or not?
I think it is substantial based on the code
All right,
definition.
Larry, you don't think so?
I do not.
Okay, Matt? You do not. That's right.
I think it is substantial in relation to public code.
Okay. I think it's substantial, so if that's, and that's up to board members then to decide if they're putting more weight on the length of it as opposed to the other criteria, then certainly you vote accordingly.
The other reason I would say it was not substantial is also because they can be 2 feet, so it's only 2 foot, not full 4 foot for that.
Okay. Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. We're talking about a chain link fence. I haven't heard anything about having any kind of adverse effect or impact. Anything else or comments on the fourth criteria? Fifth, the list difficulty is self-created. They're the ones asking for a fence, albeit that they have been put through a lot by their neighbors, trespassing and invasion of their property. The applicants have agreed that the chain link fence will be only a chain link fence. There will be no privacy slats, and it will only be 4 feet. Yes, we got a head nod from one of the applicants. Okay,
That's a yes.
thank you. All right, does anyone want to add anything else to any of the justifications before I entertain a motion for approval? Hearing none. All right, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Leah, second.
Second?
Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
So that's 4 to 1. All right, you have your variance. Thank you for your efforts and your patience, and your packet was very helpful. Thanks so much. Good luck to you.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Anything else before the board?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Thanks so much.
They need to go to the planning board for site plan approval.